Well, first I want to thank you all for being here. I know that you're here for probably mostly everybody else. I kind of tag along with my husband. But anyway, I'm very grateful to be up here on stage and to share some things with you today that are deeply important to me. So hopefully the crowd will settle in a little bit. This is Sedona Cosmic Awakening, and I will be speaking on awakening the cosmic feminine. So we had some really beautiful feminine sounds to get you in the mood for that. I've lived in Sedona before. It's a really amazing, beautiful place. You're all very, it's good to be here. Like probably a lot of you have traveled here. Some of you live here, and it's a gorgeous place to commune with nature and the spirits. And it's springtime, so it's the awakening of the earth goddess. Like Persephone has come back from the underworld, and all the flowers are blooming, so it's a really good time to talk about the cosmic feminine. I also just got back from Hawaii, swimming with the dolphins and having a whale experience, which was really beautiful and sacred. So I swam with the dolphins for the first time in my life, which was a dream of mine since I was in my early 20s. I always wanted to work with the dolphins, and that wasn't the life path that I went on. I went on a different one, which I'll share with you a little bit here. So we got to swim with the dolphins and then had a really magical experience with a humpback whale, where the humpback whale was following our boat, and I was singing angel songs to her, and I might share a little bit of those with you today. Really high tones, like whale tones. And the humpback whale, waved. And she waved 3 times, not just once. She waved 3 times like that, and then she dived deep. You saw her tail come up, and that's how she left us. So it was definitely a conscious experience with this beautiful humpback whale. So I really dedicate the work that I do to the earth elements, and to the beautiful creatures of the earth. And so what I do is to inspire people to stand up and to anchor in the energies of the divine feminine, which is something that we can all do, men and women, and to have the heart of the sacred warrior. And the sacred warrior has a stand and uses this life for something good, and finds the areas on this planet that need help and protection, and the sacred warrior does something about it. And so that is really at the heart of all of my teachings, the sacred warrior. So that will be in here too. All right. So, let's see. There we go. That one. We are experiencing a turning of the ages. The coming golden age and golden race are characterized by more light, love, harmony, and grace. It has been prophesied. The dark forces of the Kali Yuga had their time of suppressing the feminine and desecrating the earth. The feminine force returns, bringing balance and nourishment to a parched earth, and is the key to ascension. She is the heart of the sacred warrior and the syzygy of the sacred masculine. We are the rainbow warriors who will anchor in this new light and new age. Get this? I can't do it with one hand. All right, so I have to drink a little water. So all of you know what rainbow warriors are, right? Yes, you are them. You're in Sedona, you're here, you're rainbow warriors, for sure. So I'll tell you a little bit about me, since there's no introduction, so you can get a little bit of perspective on, like, why would you want to listen to me? Anyway, I'm the wife of David Wilcock. That can be pretty interesting, but it is definitely an interesting life, I'll tell you that. We are, he clearly is on the cutting edge of the ascension and disclosure movement, and so our life is quite lively, as you can imagine, because of that. So a little bit about me. As a child, I had a lot of extra dimensional experiences. I saw spirits. So I knew that there was a spirit world. There was no question to me. I had telekinesis situations, a number of them, pretty big ones, happen around me. And I always thought that they were poltergeists, you know, that the spirits were doing it. But David tells me that they say TKs are like 1 in 1,000, and they say it's usually a troubled youth, and it's a troubled female young woman, and it's like the power in her creates these telekinesis type activities. But I was afraid of all of that because nobody else around me was having those experiences. And so one day I prayed to have these experiences go away. And they did. The spirits went away, the telekinesis went away. But what happened was something else developed after about 6 months, and that was an eating disorder that turned life-threatening. And so I became bulimic, and I was hospitalized for bulimia when I was 17, and after being hospitalized, it was actually worse. And so I lied to my parents, and I told them that I was fine, and I went off to college, and I was killing myself. And so again, I got down on my knees, and I prayed, and I asked Spirit to help. And so magically, shamanism came into my life. And this was before the internet, so you know, you can't just search the internet and say, what do I do when I'm bulimic? You know, is there a spiritual cure for this or anything like that? You know, the only information I got was in a book in the library. And so, but the universe has a magical way of initiating us. And so my initiations began in shamanism. I had a near-death experience. I had a miraculous healing. And then the spirits started to initiate me a lot. And then I dedicated my life to the healing path and to the mystic path. So I quit college because it didn't really have anything to offer me. And I knew that I needed to seek out my own education as what you guys know as a star seed or, you know, a indigo child or something. You know, we have to build a different world. That's why we're here. And so the regular systems of education are going to leave us feeling depressed and not nourished, and really like the regular TikTok reality is going to leave us feeling discontent. So if any of you are worried about that feeling, don't be. Don't be worried if you feel discontent or depressed at the world that you live in and some of the systems that are here, because you should be. You know, we have a presence on this planet that's dark. The dark forces are also here. So anyway, I had to find my own way. And then I began learning from masters in shamanism and martial arts and the mystic arts. I ended up going deep into shamanism for a number of years, doing lots and lots of things with that, doing 70 ayahuasca journeys. And if you know anything about that, that's a lot. Experiencing many deaths, many rebirths. But I needed to do that in order to put myself back together, because from my childhood and being a sensitive soul, I had a lot of soul loss. If any of you knows what that is, your soul detaches due to trauma, and so you're half in the spirit world and you're half here. So I had to go back into the spirit world to try to get healed many times, and that's what did it, because I was pretty broken. So I really dedicated my life to this mystic search of pushing the envelope. That's where I get a lot of the things I'm going to be talking to you today about, pushing the envelope and the experiences that I had. I apprenticed the martial arts. I have 5 black belts in Shaolin Kung Fu, and I co-owned 5 martial arts schools. So that was a very big part of my life. That's where the sacred warrior comes in, my passion and dedication to the heart of the sacred warrior, and why I bring it into all of my talks, because I truly feel that you need to be a sacred warrior if you're going to live well on this planet. You have to focus on the goal, and you have to have the courage and the dedication to the light, to stand in the light and to continue to make that stand over and over and over again in this life. And that ultimately is also what I feel is how we graduate and how we ascend, because we build up this good merit, these good work merits of being a warrior of love. Anyway, so I did all that for many years and had many visitations So that was like decades, of work there. And then I got the visitation from the Golden Goddess, and she gave me my charge, and she told me that the earth needed the feminine, and it needed it now. That the earth was dying from a lack of the nourishing dew of the yin, cool, compassionate, honoring feminine energies. And we had to bring those back to the planet now. And she asked me to, well, she brought me into her legions, the legions of light, and she asked me to rework the martial arts because it's very masculine. So she told me to rework how I do all of that. And then she, encouraged me to continue to teach women. And so that's where I started the Priestess Path Lineages of Light. That's what I do now. It's my sacred service. It's my sacred offering. I give back all of the information and wisdom, and probably not all of it, but some, of the information and wisdom and initiations that I received that helped me, that healed me, that transformed me, and are the practical tools. The practical tools that we use, that I use, that have been passed down to us through these lineages of light in order to be an empowered, multidimensional being of light and love. So that's a little bit of my background, just so you know. Before we get into it, I'll share with you a poem that I wrote about priestesses, because that's basically what I have decided to align with out of all of the jobs that you can have. I chose that one because it's most fitting, to what I love and what I'm aligned with. So I'll just share this poem with you. I can't see it on my computer, but I can see it here. There have always been priestesses. In every time and place, there have always been priestesses. Women of power in tune with the sacred, sisters, daughters, mothers, and crones, birthing, bleeding, healing, and deathing together. There have always been priestesses. In all societies that honor the sacred, women are honored for their unique power and abilities, carrying the codes of the womb creatrix. Women are the life givers, caregivers, midwives, wisdom keepers, lovers, and healers. It is time for the priestesses to return from the shadows of history to touch this thirsty earth. Women of power, women of wisdom, remember, you are an eternal sovereign being. Your spirit is a noble queen. Embody her. You have come here for a reason, with a special gift for this world. Now is your time to embody the fierce force of beauty and love, calling down the divine light to kiss the earth. Priestess, may you activate your noble power and live this life as a blessing. So because I trained for many years in the martial arts, I was trained by male masters and grandmasters. So I also deeply honor the sacred masculine. When I talk about the feminine, I'm talking about the feminine in all of us. And being a woman, we have embodied in this particular vehicle. So, who better to embody the divine feminine than the feminine? That's what I say. But I truly love and honor the sacred masculine as well. I trained many men in my lifetime. All right, so the golden race and the golden age is coming. As the vibration of light increases, humanity is changed. We are evolving into fourth density beings. This was prophesied by the very accurate SIBYL of CUMAE. There's a widespread tradition that we are transitioning into a golden race throughout various ancient cultures, and the Romans, oops, I didn't capitalize that, changed it from the golden race to golden age to hide what they knew was coming, and they thought they were the only ones that would go through it. It's not capitalized because my husband said that, and I was typing it. There's a little bit of him in here, you'll see it. So actually, it's coming up right now because I asked him, I said, you know, do you have any slides on the golden race? And he gave them to me. So this is from his presentation. So we want to get into, the golden race. In the class, let's see, the Cambridge Classical Journal, which is a very hoity-toity classical journal, all right? In the Classical Quarterly, this person, H.C. Baldry, who invented, she wrote, "Who Invented the Golden Age?" in 1952. And the Golden Age actually translates as the Golden Race, which is interesting. Etas and Secula. So the Golden Age, there are many passages in ancient literature which depict an imaginary existence different from the hardships of real life, an existence blessed with nature's bounty, untroubled by strife or want. Naturally, this happy state is always placed somewhere or sometime outside of normal human experience, whether off the map in some remote quarter of the world or in Elysium after death, or in the dim future or distant past. Such an imaginary time of bliss in the past or the future has become known as the Golden Age, but it always wasn't that way. When first mentioned in Hesiod's work and Days 42 through 46, it is not explained but briefly alluded to as the state which men would now enjoy if the gods had not hidden the means of life from them. I wonder who those gods are. These Greek authors, like Hesiod, I don't know if I'm saying this right, thank you, Hesiod. I like to have him in the back. He's my ace in the hole. He's in a chair behind the wall. So if I get stuck, if I get like really nervous, I drop the mic, and I just can't talk anymore, he'll come out here and save me. Yeah. It's very sweet, yeah. It's only in Latin poetry that this is sometimes replaced by a golden age. It was Roman writers who made the transition from a golden race to a golden age, and from them the concept was handed down into more modern literature. So the Romans altered history, as people often do. They alter it because they don't want us to remember certain things. And so in the ancient literature, they always talked about a golden race. So when you hear golden age, they're really talking about a golden race. So also in the prophecy of the SIBYL of CUMAE, SIBYL means prophetess, and the SIBYL of CUMAE is arguably the most famous SIBYL due to the accuracy of her predictions. Now, if you've ever heard David talk, he really gets into her story. I'm not going to get into it, but she was very accurate. She predicted the fate of Rome so well that they guarded her books of predictions more than gold. So she lived around 540 BC. Her very accurate sibylline books prophesied the fate of Rome, I said that, and she prophesied the golden race as well. So again, because her prophecies were so accurate, they, even whoever they are, put it on the back of the dollar. Novus Ordo Seclorum. You can't see it very well, but you can see it right there. And it's on the back of the US dollar. And it means new order of the ages, but it really means new order of the races. So that's just setting up that there's a golden age, there's a prophecy of the golden age, but it's basically a golden race of beings, meaning that human beings are going to be changing, and human beings are changing. I probably don't talk about it too much in this slideshow, but yeah, the ascension energies, the light is definitely, has different information in it now. Photons carry information, and they're absorbed by our DNA. And so our DNA listens to the new information that come in the photons, and it does different stuff. And so we are all receiving photons with fourth density information in them right now. And so every single one of us is getting an upgrade. And also we are processing very quickly lots of karmas. And I don't know if you have the same problem that I have, but if I mess up, I get hit really bad. I get hit like hard. So I have a very little room to consciously mess up at all, which is like to transgress karmically if I know it. So all of that is because our DNA is changing. So who is the cosmic feminine? Well, first I want to talk about who is God, source, creator. So God, source, creator is neither feminine nor masculine. The one undifferentiated wholeness is not a sex. It doesn't have genitalia or anything like that. So it's called the Great Mystery, for a reason in the Native Americans, or one infinite creator in the Law of One. It's also the Tao in the Eastern Asian. So the Tao is the all of the everything. It contains all things, and it's beyond all things. So the one infinite creator is like this. You can envision it as a circle, basically, and that's usually how it is drawn. And then, yeah, look at that, huh? That's fun. I did that. Proud of that little bouncing ball. And that means that there's like a first differentiation. And so there's a first differentiation that happens in order for the one to have experience, because the one was lonely, and the one just was sitting there all in its oneness, wanted to have the experience, and you have to separate to do that. And so the first separation occurred, and then we have what's called the Tai Chi pole in the Eastern philosophy, and then you have two halves of the one, just like in cell division in the womb. You have the two halves. One is yin and one is yang. One is masculine and one is feminine. And so it's father, mother, God. So Edgar Cayce, I guess my husband last life, Edgar Cayce called it father, mother, God because of that. And so do a lot of other traditions. They, in like the Taoist tradition, the Eastern Asian philosophy, they recognize that Wu Qi is the all of the everything. Tai Chi poles in the center, yin and yang, the masculine and the feminine. We all have masculine and feminine in us. The feminine would be more of the yin with a dollop of the yang. Masculine is going to be more of the yang with a dollop of the yin inside. And so we are both. So this says the Tao is the one. From the one come yin and yang. From these two, they create energy. From energy, 10,000 things, which means all of creation. Everything is created from the polarity of masculine and feminine. All life embodies the yin, so it embodies the yin, it embraces the yang, and through their union, achieving harmony. And so with the whole cosmic feminine, so the cosmic feminine is coming from this original, the first separation of the one infinite creator. And now let's look at what has been said about the cosmic feminine, the divine feminine, throughout history. She's also called Shekinah. And so we had just had Shekinah up here singing some songs. And so this divine feminine archetype comes through our soul families. We're really soul families. My very first soul name I ever got was Shekinah. And so I didn't know what it meant at the time. I was like 19 and just came when one of my teachers, asked me to ask for it. And I didn't even know what it was. Anyway, so Shekinah, in the Kabbalistic tradition, describes the feminine image of the Godhead as mother, daughter, sister, and Holy Spirit, giving woman what she has lacked throughout the ages, the last 2,500 years in Judeo-Christian culture, an image of the divine feminine in the Godhead that is reflected at the human level in herself. The Shekinah is divine motherhood, mother of all living. And Shekinah is my favorite name and description of the divine feminine. It still has maintained to me, in my the way I see it, some purity, and it hasn't been really touched by anything yet, by people who like to rewrite history. Shekinah, it is a feminine noun, so from the dictionary, it's a feminine noun meaning the presence of God on earth, or a symbol or manifestation of his, her presence. So Shekinah is the presence of God. So when we talk about the God, the undifferentiated wholeness, you know, the feminine part of God is God in presence, God embodied. The Shekinah is the image of the divine feminine, or the feminine force of God, as it was conceived in the mystical tradition of Judaism. It also means house, temple, similar to Beth in Hebrew, which means house of God. So it's the place in which God enters, Shekinah. Beth and Shekinah can be, are almost synonymous. Our inner divine mother, Shekinah, the spirit of God, that feminine spirit who holds all the mysteries of creation in her hands, she is represented by the letter Beth, so my namesake, which is another weird, interesting synchronicity that you end up like dedicated to all of these things, and you get named these things as well. The letter Beth is feminine. Beth is the goddess who stands next to Aleph, the father, and that's from GnosticTeachings.org. Also, in the Eastern tradition, the feminine is seen as the earth, her animals and creatures. That's all feminine, because the earth is like one big womb birthing the thoughts of God. You know, the divine seed of this amazing sacred geometry enters into the womb of this earth and outbirths plants and trees and animals and the good humans of this earth. Women and children are also considered feminine. The children's fire, which is a term that comes from one of my Nagua elders who's passed on, Harley Swifter Reagan, he talked about the children's fire. The children's fire is that childlike innocence in each and every one of us. Everybody has a children's fire. Your children's fire is purity. It's your innocence. It's your inspiration. It's your respect. You know how children, they're not jaded yet, so they're gullible. They believe people. That's our children's fire. And that is considered the most sacred and the most precious. That is what true warriors are sworn to protect. True warriors protect the children's fire, innocence in all things, and only if it is threatened. Respect and honor is part of the feminine, and it's all represented by Kuan Yin. And so that's important when we get into the sacred warrior, which is a little toward the end. I also want to talk about Mother Mary.